What is up? What is up? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. It is Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here to help you to create a life that your career can't destroy, because who got time for that? We ain't worked this hard to be these adults, to get into these places and spaces in life to let our careers destroy our ability to live life. It's the last Sunday in the month of June. It is the last Sunday of Q2. We're going into the new month, the new quarter, all of the things, and what is that looking like for you? What is that looking like for you, and how are you making sure that you show up in that? And so we're going to dive in and we're going to talk about that and talk through that to make sure that we stick to the plans, or more so that we know what the plans are going in. Hey Fiona, how have you been? I'm doing good. How are you? We want to make sure that we go in with the plans and with the intentions to make sure that we're setting ourselves up. This is me checking my to-do list to make sure that I'm on track with where I'm supposed to be. And so today we want to dive in and we want to talk about life. Life in the sense that you've been living this life, you've created this life, but your life can't exist only in between deadlines. Because I want you to think about this and maybe even answer the question of, why do you keep planning a life but you never actually get to enjoy it? Because, look, we're going to dive in and we're going to talk about it. I want you to ask yourself, what have you been putting off? What have you been postponing? What have you been, I'll get to this eventually, when it comes to life? Because, oh God, I had to sneeze. Because when we start there, when we start from that viewpoint, when we start from the place of, it's not giving what it's supposed to give, then you sometimes actually get to the place of understanding that, yes, you've been planning, yes, you've been preparing, but have you actually been living life? And if most of us honestly take time to think about that, to assess that, you might realize that the answer is no. But why? Why haven't you actually got a chance to live? Why aren't you actually living a life that day in and day out you're waking up and living, but you're just living in the sense of going through the motions, not living in the sense of showing up for life and really doing life in that regard? And so we're going to dive in and we're going to talk through, hit you with 3 quick things, get in, out, and get you on with your day and on with life. Because where are you actually showing up? And so as you think about this, like, maybe you even just take it back to just this month. Where have you postponed things and used the excuse of, I'll do it when things slow down? Because how often are we going to be honest with ourselves and realize that things aren't going to slow down? Because even when we feel like they slow down, then that's when you start coasting and going through the motions. And this isn't to say that you should be hustling, because y'all know I'm anti-hustle and grind, not anti-hard work. But you keep postponing and saying you'll take care of this when things slow down. And yes, there are times when you want to add something new maybe in, and you need to get to the place to where you have the capacity for it. But some of the things we're just talking about baseline. Some things we're talking about just baseline of, here's where I want to be. What are you waiting to enjoy? Because we need to look at and answer these questions for ourselves to really understand that you've been going through life existing. You've been going through life not actually living and enjoying it. And when you look at it from that viewpoint, especially now being a good point and good place to do it, because we're coming into a new quarter and we're coming into the last 6 months of the year. So I've been talking about this idea of this mid-year reset. And so as you're preparing to reset, as you're preparing to plan, because y'all know, y'all should have started it last week, but if you haven't, this is the week to be planning and preparing for the month, for the quarter, for the last 6 months ahead. And so what is that looking like for you? Like, what are you doing? What do you keep pushing to later? More importantly, what about you? Because, okay, and when I say more importantly, there are things that we're pushing to later that might involve other people. Cool, great. We're not really focused on that right now. I want to focus on specifically how it pertains to you and where it pertains to you that you're specifically postponing and pushing to later. Have you been saying you were going to start working out, eating healthier, looking to starting a business, doing personal development, budgeting, saving money? What? Like, what specifically that pertains to you? That not necessarily doesn't involve another person, but that specifically pertains to you. Have you been postponing and putting off because you are waiting for things to slow down or whatever the case may be? Like, what are you waiting to enjoy? I guess it's really what it comes down to. Like, what are you waiting to enjoy in life that you keep pushing to later for whatever reason? And I get it. Like, as an attorney, we live in this constant state of preparation. As a defense attorney, especially because I have to react to what the state does. I have to react. Like, I can't preemptively be like, hey, don't commit this crime, then I want to have a job. And not saying I want people to commit crimes so I have a job. But it's all reactive. It's all not even really preventative. It's reactive. And so being a person that has to live in a reactionary state, I have to react to what's going on. I now have to plan and prepare, what does this reaction look like? And so many attorneys find themselves, not just as defense attorneys, but we live in this constant prep mode because we're preparing for court, for these hearings, for these trials, for these depositions, for the client meeting, for the intake, for the whatever. And because of being in prep mode all the time, that we take our foot off the gas in a sense when it comes to life, and you don't plan and prepare in life. And it don't make no sense, because why are you doing all this planning and preparing when it comes to work, that when you get to life, you're like, nah, I'm gonna just take my foot off the gas. But the flip side to that is that because you live in this constant prep mode, you never actually put your foot in the game and participate. And so maybe that's the distinction between the two. You're planning and preparing for work all of the time, that you don't actually participate in life. You stand on the sidelines and you wait for your moment to jump in. And it's not even said that you're prepping for it, but you use the prep at work to tell you when you can show up and participate in life, and you're just sitting on the sidelines. But how is that working out for you? Okay, it's not. Exactly. And so if we come from that viewpoint, if we come from that standpoint, then let's dive in and let's look at it differently. Let's go deeper. Let's really think about the achievement aspect. Because of the fact that you've been doing all this prep work to show up, to react, to be there, to do the things, as you have these different achievements, the finish line keeps moving. Because, okay, I prepped for the hearing, now I have to prep for the trial. I prepped for the trial, now I have to prep for the sentencing. And so the finish line keeps getting moved because, yes, have the milestones, have the check-in points, have the checkpoints, but don't let those be the end-all, be-all in how it is as you show up. Because of the fact that these different checkpoints also become starting points, the finish line keeps getting moved because the hearing has occurred. And based off the ruling at the hearing, and I'm speaking from the legal lens here, fill in what it might look like for you. Based off the ruling from the hearing, I now know what happens next. Do I have to go back to the drawing board with the state and start negotiating? Do I now know that we're going to trial? Do I now know that there's some evidence that is coming in, some evidence that's not coming in? And so now I'm in this next step of prep mode. Can I file another motion? What can I do next? And so when we look at achievement from that same viewpoint and from that same lens, yes, you should keep setting goals. I'm not telling you not to set goals, because y'all know what I like to say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So yes, keep setting goals, keep making that type of progress, but also understand that the need to keep achieving is a part of productivity. And sometimes you have allowed productivity to be the crutch. You have allowed productivity to become avoidance. Because for you, planning feels safe, preparing feels safe. Because it's in the planning and in the preparation that you're able to create essentially these different contingencies. This plan A, this plan B, this hybrid approach. Like when my clients ask me, like, what do you think is going to happen? Child, I don't know. Because even if the judge, like, we can win some, we can lose some, they can split the baby, and depending on how it's split, it may or may not be better. And so living in this planning and preparation mode, it feels safe because you don't have to actually take action, because you're kind of stuck to the paper instead of the doing aspect. But because of that, the actual ability to show up and to live creates uncertainty. So what does that look like for you? You have these systems that is prioritizing the output, i.e. the planning and the preparation. And because of the output being the thing that you're so fixated on, you're so worried about doing and producing that you never actually sit still to enjoy. You never actually get to experience. You never actually get to be present. Because yes, you've planned, yes, you've prepared, but you're not actually participating, which means you're not actually present. You're so focused on work that you're not actually showing up in life. And so, what are we going to change going forward as we go into this next month, quarter, week even, the next day? I want you to identify one thing that you've been postponing. One thing. And I get that I'm asking you to output again, but stick with me here. I want you to be able to experience life. The success that you've worked so hard to create should be experienced while it's happening. And so what's one thing that you've been postponing? Is it a day off? Is it a vacation? Is it a trip? Is it a phone call to someone? What is one thing that you've been postponing? Schedule it this week. We're done saying one day. We're done saying in a moment. We're done with all of that. We're putting it on the calendar. Since you want to plan and prepare to schedule that thing. I'm not asking you to actually do it. No. I am asking you to do it on the scheduled day and time, but I'm not telling you to do the thing now. I'm telling you to put it on the calendar and stop postponing that joy, that experience of life. I want you to understand that this week, it's going to be scheduled. Preferably by the end of the day, or whenever you listen to this, end of the day nonetheless. But I want you to stop postponing joy and enjoyment, because your life, it can't only exist between these deadlines. If you want to really live and to, have this wonderful life, you have to stop waiting for life to give you the okay to live. What is the thing that you've been postponing until things slow down? Because as we keep saying later keeps moving that finish line. Later becomes this fictitious in the air thing that doesn't have stability to it. And as a result, you get to this place to where years down the line, you just like, wait a minute, shawty. What now? And I don't want that for you. Your life is meant to be lived. Your life is meant to be enjoyed. And success starts with you understanding the balance and the duality of that. Success isn't only about work, the accomplishments, the accolades, the achievements that you have there, the work that you do there. Real success is the balance. It's the flip side of that. It's how are you living life? How are you showing up in life? What are you doing in life? That is the duality. That is the balance. That's really where it comes down to. And I want you to really walk into this next month, into this next quarter with that in mind and on your mind. To really look at where have you been postponing joy? Where have you been postponing life? What have you been postponing? To really dive in to examine, the way in which you're allowing the production or the achievements to move this finish line, to where you're doing what I like to call procrastinating. You're allowing productivity and planning to become a tool of avoidance that turns into procrastination. Because yes, doing, producing, and output is important, but it's also not more important than you having fulfillment and enjoyment in life and in experiences. So, identify one thing that you've been postponing and schedule it this week. Show up for you. Show up for your life. you're showing up for everybody else, it's time for you to show up for you. And so that's really all I got for y'all today for Success Starter Series. Excuse me. Put that to work. Put that into action. Show up and do the work. So if you're looking for support, for accountability, for help, whatever word you want to use as you go through that process, I'm here. Reach out. But I want you to let me know below what's one thing that you've been postponing. Or let me know that you've got it scheduled for when you're going to do it. So yeah, it's been Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here for another week of the Success Starter Series. And Coach Lee will be back next week, same time, same place. Until next time.